Initial jobless claims peaked at their highest weekly average in 26 years. As the economy tightens and the holidays quickly approach, many people are forced to take extra jobs to pay the bills.
I've been looking for an extra job because Christmas is coming up and I have 3 children.
Lene Edwards is a security officer in downtown Washington. Like her, many are trying to work more than their day jobs this season.
I think it's a very tight economy and the jobs have dwindled down and cut people short without notice, and we still have needs that need to be met.
The National Retail Federation says this year there are fewer seasonal retail jobs to go around because sales are slightly lower. And as Vice President Dan Butler says, sales drive productivity.
This year they're hiring proportionately less to the sales plan. So they're still hiring holiday hires. They're just being very selective by store where they're putting the head count.
This means that people who want extra cash for the holiday will have to push extra hard to get a seasonal job.
If you're looking to work in retail this holiday season and you haven't already applied, you need to go out now and apply.
Edwards says she sees the age-old lesson.
I think it shows that we really need to be more serious about saving our money because the worst is seeming to be happening.
In Washington, I'm Renita Young. It seems today that no matter what year of college, students worry about one thing.
I'm actually really scared for my first work.
That's Margaret Walrod, an economics and political science freshman at George Washington University. She's learning more each day about how the presidential tax proposals may affect her when she graduates. In the final presidential debate, both candidates pitched their plans for tax cuts. Professor Tara Sinclair explains the main ideas.
The issue comes down to this lower taxes for individuals under $250,000 a year in income and higher taxes on corporations and on higher income individuals versus tax cuts for middle income and corporations.
Walrod said she wasn't convinced by either one of them.
I don't think that the tax cuts are helping. Yes, they're helping now, but in the future, I think it's really going to pay and it's going to hit our generation really hard.
And Professor Sinclair says freshmen like Walrod are right to be skeptical.
It doesn't say anything about who's literally going to be hurt or helped by these policies because the different taxes are going to translate in different ways.
Sinclair says new college students have very little reason to worry now because they're in a better position to wait for the economy to recover. But students like Kashef Majid should worry.
Obama's is a bit confusing to me. I mean, if you tax people over $250,000, almost discourages people from trying to earn that much money.
Although Majid's not clear on Senator Obama's pitch, Professor Sinclair says it may help him most. He's a PhD student who's about to enter the job force soon.
Right now, it is a tough job market out there, and I can completely understand why they would want someone to be really pursuing a very active job creations policy, which I think we see more on the side of the Democrats.
As for students just starting their college careers, Sinclair says they may want to take a second look at Senator John McCain's plan.
It does seem like perhaps McCain's plan is going to be a slower recovery, but perhaps a more robust recovery plan.
But whichever candidate makes it to the White House, one thing's for sure.
All of these numbers, first of all, are going to have to get through Congress, so it's not clear that they're going to be able to implement their policies as is.
And that depends on the popular vote this election day. In Washington, I'm Renita Young. Government and housing industry officials are taking a stab at helping homeowners survive the depressed housing market.
The SMP program really is one step forward on a comprehensive solutions package to find ways for alternatives to foreclosure.
Faith Schwartz is the executive director of Hope Now, an alliance of housing industry companies organized by the Bush administration last year. She says so far, similar programs have been successful.
Last month, we had 212,000 loans that were modified or through other repayment plan type programs that avoided foreclosure.
The Federal Housing Finance Agency is also involved. Christine Eldorat says it hopes the streamlined modification program will ease the process across the board.
The idea with the streamlined approach was to create something that was faster, easier for the borrower, and could basically be adopted by all servicers across the country.
It's a great step forward for the industry to help more people stay in their homes.
In Washington, I'm Renita Young. This week, the National Bureau of Economic Research announced that the U.S. has been in a recession for the past year. Economists across the nation are weighing in on how this affects people living in the U.S. Adolfo Lorente, senior economist at Chicago-based Mizero Financial, explains what a recession means.
The rule of thumb is 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth, contraction in the economy. The NBER decision yesterday was surprising to some of us because the common understanding is that a recession is a contraction in the economy. Although we had a lot of weakness in the economy for the first half of 2008, we did not have a contraction.
Lorente says the National Bureau of Economic Research also takes into account employment trends, income trends, and industrial production. Alex Moscoso, a Maryland-based economist, says by the technical definition, the U.S. is not in a recession.
The only economic decline we've had was in this quarter, the third quarter of 2008. I believe the fourth quarter of 2007, when most people agree that the recession started, it wasn't negative, but it was almost 0%, so it was very stagnant. And then quarter number 2 of 2008, there was actually some positive economic growth.
Moscoso says the holiday season may slow the recession.
We're probably going to get that technical term of 2 straight quarters of negative growth probably in this fourth quarter, but might not. The Christmas shopping might help it enough where it'll actually grow.
Jeff Klang is the Deputy Director of Economic Studies at the Brookings Institution in Washington, D.C. He says to help the economy, the U.S. government should spend more.
The most important thing that we can probably do at this point is to have the federal government borrow from the future and spend more now. That means things like doing repair work on bridges, repair work on schools, or other kinds of projects that will hire real people to do real work right away, and also to give some aid to state governments that would otherwise be cutting their health insurance for people who are on Medicaid, or other kinds of budget cuts where they'll start to spend less because they have to have a balanced budget.
This means policymakers and financiers will have to pound the pavement to get the U.S. economy back on track. In Washington, I'm Renita Young. A recent study on election finance shows that small money donors really opened their checkbooks for Democrats this year.
When you look at the fundraising bases of Barack Obama and John McCain, Obama is more reliant on those smaller donors than McCain is. About half of Obama's money has come from people and from contributions of $200 or less, whereas about a third of McCain's money has come from those smaller donors.
Massey Rich is the communication director at the Center for Responsive Politics. The nonpartisan research group held a media phone briefing about campaign finances, saying the Obama campaign's internet donors gave him a steep advantage over McCain.
Obama has been very successful at raising money over the internet, and internet money does tend to be smaller contributions, $10, $20 here and there. What he's been so successful at, though, is converting those $10 and $20 people into repeat donors, so that by the end of the election, they might be giving, instead of $10, they might be giving $100.
Individual donors who made small donations boosted the election dollars, but Rich said they still represent just a small slice of America.
Less than 0.5% of all Americans make a contribution of more than $200 to federal politics. Still a very tiny minority.
Reporting from Washington, I'm Renita Young.